All right. So Jason, I'm excited to chat about this topic today. It's crazy to me that it's something that, very rarely do you see something that doesn't have a huge internet definition. Like almost everything's defined on the internet. There's new words coming up, right? But the topic is field marketing and field marketing enablement. You've been in sales for forever. From a seller's perspective, how have you seen, what's been that engagement like with field marketing teams, and like the good, the bad, what works?
Yeah. Well, they got a challenge, right? It's all about getting people in a room, and we put on a tremendous amount of field marketing events at every company I've worked for. I've been at Microsoft, and they have a whole engine that does it. Smaller company like Risk IQ, we would hold multiple events in a month. And there's a lot of work that goes into it. It's a lot of spreadsheet management, a lot of pinging the salespeople, pinging the CEO, other individuals, channel partners, getting the people into the room, focusing on where to have the event. I mean, there is just a lot of moving parts that are always juggling. And we would somehow make it pull off, right? We would just, we all kind of understood somewhat of what we did, but it was a pretty big process that didn't have the easiest way to follow things, because we wouldn't know who was going to come until really the day of the event or a few days before we knew who signed up.
And that's a tough piece. Like whenever I think about a process or something that executes, I always kind of look at it and in kind of two buckets, right? Was this successful because there was a hero? And everyone says, I want to be the hero, right? No, but in an organization that's maturing and that's growing, it's scaling, you don't want heroes. Like you want to have them, and like in the fantasy movies, like you only want to have the hero right when you really need the hero,
Yes.
right? But you want things to operate because it was designed. It was, structurally sound, right? From an architecture and process engineering perspective, right? And I feel like field marketers are expected to be heroes all the time, right? Like,
yeah, I think that's a good analogy, and to scale something that you want to do over and over as a sales leader, especially when they're successful, it's like you got to call in a hero every time to do it.
And you I think you see that with sales leaders. They're like, well, who's running this event? Oh, it's Jim. Can we get Sarah to run this one for me? Like I like Jim. Jim's a nice guy, but Sarah and I, we just connect a little bit better. And because it's like, hey, this is
right. It's like she gives me what I need, which is people in the seats with the right attendees, and they're there prepared to learn, and all the events go off without a hitch. At least
and then those heroes burn out, right? Like they get tapped too much. They burn out. They start, they look for something different, right? And then the organization, it's really difficult to scale with heroes. But why is it a hero thing, right? And this is kind of the topic of what is field marketing enablement? Because it's a new term. We are coining the term of field marketing enablement. But let's talk about why is field marketing enablement so difficult, right? What do you is it tools? Is it the knowledge, the data? Like what?
It's kind of all those, man, to be honest, right? I mean, but it's a lot of work to get people to show up to an event, especially if they're a stranger.
Yeah.
And it just takes a lot of pushing and driving, not only from getting the attendees there, but getting the content ahead of time, getting the messaging right to get the people in the room. Is it of value? Where are you going to have it was one of our big things. We used to host threat hunter workshops all over the country. And where do you host those at? If you can't get a university or a partner to host it, well, what's next?
Yeah.
And then, but even in the smaller venues, right, where you want to host a dinner to some people that are super busy in the executive ranks of security organizations, because, things go sideways at the last second. But, how do you know you can get them in the room? How do you know there's not conflict? It's just, there's a lot of things that can go wrong.
And it's the quality versus the quantity, right? So like, because there's a lot of companies that you can say, hey, I need to do a dinner in in Albuquerque, and they're like, cool, we're gonna get you 10 warm bodies, and you're like, okay, I don't need 10 warm bodies, I need
The
10
right bodies.
bodies, right? Or
Yes,
I'd rather take 2 right bodies than 10 warm bodies, right?
exactly.
But I think part of it is the dissection, like if we dissect what breaks out, and which is why we're creating in this category, right? We have sales enablement, we have marketing enablement, but field marketing enablement has never been a thing, right? So which is wild to me, because field marketers, spreadsheets, right? They lots of spreadsheets. Then they got to go Google, LinkedIn, find not even just CISOs, but CISOs or decision makers who live there, not where the company's at, but live there.
Right.
Then they got to organize it, find the right place, like you just said, pick the right night, because if you pick the wrong night, that there's a competing event, like that's not going to go well. Reach out to the place, reserve it, like look at any of the logistics for people that are coming in to support it. Have some research ready for those sales folks.
Yeah,
who's going to be there? How do our offerings relate to that? And then it's like an SDR challenge times 5, because an SDR is like, I got to get someone to respond to my email to get them on a call.
It's a bigger pool they're fishing in.
But the field marketer is like, I got to get them to respond to my email and take time away from their family to come meet us, right? Like,
it's a lot, man. You're asking a lot from other people. You're asking a lot from your marketers, but oddly enough, though, people still like to do it. I just think it could be a lot easier. It should be a little bit more streamlined and be able to do those things in one location.
Exactly. Oh, it's so it's. Why do you think this hasn't existed though before?
Well, I don't think people have been able to pull the right data sets together to do something like that. To be very honest, like you use some of the bigger systems out there to do this, or even if you go and subscribe to some of these bigger event management companies, the cost is generally prohibitive, because they're going after the 100, 200,000 person event, and they're drawing from a bigger pool. When we talk about it, we're thinking of those intimate meetings that so many of us have been to where not only is it good for your company that you're representing, but it's good for the attendees so that they can network and understand one another.
Build the relationships with peers.
Yeah, for sure. But I think a lot of it comes down to a data side, Anthony. That's a lot of things that have to come together in order to drive everything that we're talking about as far as the issues here.
Yeah.
So having that under one roof would be definitely something that would make life a lot easier for a lot of these small companies that are trying to scale this type of engagement up. And I think it's going to be even more important with AI being so predominant now in all the social media and everything that we're consuming, that we're going to look for that human connection again.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think it's, like the best field marketing folk that I've seen, they have their own spreadsheet, their own template. They have a process so they can be successful. Ultimately, they're still a hero, but they've kind of got the battle tested way they kind of do it, right?
They have the Rosetta Stone.
Yeah, right. And that's ultimately what we're talking about. Like, how do we make that scale, right? Which is why we're so excited to bring this here. What's the, I guess, like when it comes to having a seller be ready though, right? So you were in the sales side, you show up at a dinner. Like, how often did somebody say, hey, this is who's going to be there, this is how we relate to them? You might want to nudge on the fact that they are a Packers fan, whatever. Like, how often did that happen for you?
Rare. I had one woman that did that all the time in my career, and she was the best at it. It was, I had a few other people that would do some of it of who they knew, if they had a relationship with them. But, we have a relationship. It's the people that you don't know that you need to have that information so that you can build a relationship with them.
Yeah.
So it's very rare. Some people might feel differently. Oh no, I don't buy it. I did too many of these things with too many randos showing up and people that you try to drive in that were actually good people to contact with, but you just don't have enough to really drive the conversation deeper.
I think that's the reality, right? It's that there's so much work and effort that has to go into manually building the events, coordinating, getting people there, the logistics. That I was talking with a client of ours. They break the world out into 6 regions. Every region this year in 2026, every region has to do 40 to 50 dinners.
Right.
They're doing 300, almost 300 dinner events, not including the conferences, right? And if you think about that, I'm a field marketing person. I got to do 12 of these every quarter, about, right?
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's one a week, like that's, and then I gotta, invite, coordinate, blah, 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 and then prep something for sales. So the default, I think, usually is like, hey, sales, I gave you the list. Here's a LinkedIn. Go do some homework. And the sales folk are busy closing deals, right? Shaking hands and kissing babies kind of thing, right? And so a lot of that research gets missed, which is, one of the big value pieces I think that we kind of solve, right? Like, yes. Click, deliver, right?
That's right.
Oh yeah, there we go. Like, right? Like, yeah, is that how we're
I got cut off on Anthony's screen.
Yeah, there you go. It's a wild it's a wild piece. But it makes the dinner, the event, more meaningful because they're not cheap. It's a meaningful investment by the company. Right.
Yeah. And it's a lot of resources going into actually having the event and then actually hosting the events, resource intensive, and then following up is also resource intensive. And that's why I'm so glad that, we've taken on that challenge and created something that can actually take you from beginning to the end, all the way through the follow-up to drive meaningful conversations and engagement.
Yeah. It's always nice when you walk into something to have the cliff notes ready,
Yes.
Like, oh, I got that. Like I think we all want that, I don't know, Tony Stark experience. You walk into a room and it's like, all right, that's Bob. Bob's got 2 kids. Like, oh, hey, Bob, how's it going? Right. Like,
exactly. It's showing up on now we have the meta glasses.
The meta glasses. Yeah. Right there. Right. Like maybe eventually with AI, I'm sure that
there'll be something. There'll be
definitely
something.
Right. But it's the preparedness, it's the organization, it's the richness of the data accuracy. But I think there's also something that often gets missed, which is that a lot of times, you spend $25,000 doing an event, right? How do we compare the ROI compared of the dinner in Denver versus the dinner in Chicago, right? If we aren't baselined on readiness, is it just, Sarah in Denver is less charming than Bob in Chicago, so that's why Bob closed more deals from that dinner? Like, how much do we attribute? Like, I think it's important to baseline it and then be able to compare. Like, oh, we did a dinner, we're expecting this much pipe from it. Everyone's equally ready. We follow the methodology. That's how you scale. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, it's a little bit of it. I mean, you want enough to where it covers the one event, right? You need one deal to come out of something like that, just from the time sink that goes into it with marketing resources. But there isn't a great way to compare one event to another, nor is there an equalizer. And I think it's just because we don't have a great process to actually host it. We don't have a great way to set it up for success. And everyone's, if we get in front of people as sellers, we feel like, hey, that's what we need. We just need to be in front of somebody. I think that helps, right? For sure. I like the in-person side, as I've said multiple times. But there's one other thing that if you're empowered with understanding who the people are in the room, is then you can be that networker. You can be that authority that says, oh, hey, Anthony works at a bank also. And he might be able to help you with some of that, or he might have seen something along that line and be able to refer someone else to you that might be able to help you.
I think that's often an underappreciated thing, right? Like a lot of times, I see vendors. They're like, "Hey, we did the dinner," and they're expecting their person to just shots, like just going down the line and being like, "Let me tell you about how we do AI API security. Let me tell you how we do it," right? But if instead you have the context and insight, the background, you're like, "Hey, Bob, you should actually meet Bob, John over here. You guys are both in railroad."
Right.
It's not about the transaction. It's about the relationship. And if you build the relationship, the transaction is much more likely to happen, right? And then being able to dimension of like, okay, we've got, this person, security leader here. Based on the research, it doesn't look like they're necessarily in market. I think it's the data shows, out of any company's total TAM, only 5% are in market at any given time. Now they're constantly leaving and entering the market, right, of what they want to buy. So you got to think about that. You invite 10 people, maybe one of them is actually in market right then, right? Unless you have the data to choose and influence who the people are likely in market, right?
That's right.
And that's hard to do.
Yeah, understanding buyers, customer timing, and having an understanding of when their purchasing cycles work, along if you can understand, what is in that purchasing cycle at that time. Those are some pretty compelling data points. As we said, I've never been able to see anything like that from a data perspective until now. That's such a interesting way to you look at it, and then just how you host these dinners, how you invite people, it just changes the entire dynamic. Because I would rather speak to 5 people that might be willing to buy something from me now than speaking to 15 people that might buy something from me in 10 months.
It's a really great way to think about it, right? Like even if you said, hey, let's ignore the statistical math of what's actually out there. We just say it's 10% that are in market. Okay, that means for your 10-person dinner, there's only in a random, we're going to just pick this city. We're just going to randomly do this, not data driven, randomly, and still doubling from 5. Like you might have 1 out of those 10 who's actually in market. So, that $25,000 dinner, what's the pipeline opportunity on it? Because like you start to say it's 5x, it's $150,000 opportunity. It's like maybe you got a 10% chance of that. You got a 90% chance of a goose egg here, right? Like
yeah, it's not a great odds at all. And but those are bets that we have to make in sales all the time. And if there was a way to increase the odds of making that happen and leaning into something, I don't think there's any doubt that people would want to migrate.
Well, obviously that's what we're banking on, right? Like, so we're like, hey, we've solved that. So
and I think that's what we're trying to talk around it a bit, but I think that's what is the beauty of the data that we own, right? And that we have is we can solve this engagement problem for people in a way that I don't think they fully knew was available. Because if I'm a field marketer and we have field marketers on our team, it's like I could have done 2x, 3 times as many of these with this amount of information at my fingertips, the way we're presenting it. And I think that's what's shocking is like, it is a niche. It is something that people have needed for some time, and it's taken this long for it to finally arrive. And I think there's going to be a lot of success around it, especially around artificial intelligence, everything. because the in-person meetings are coming back, and these events are going to get it only better. So,
Yeah, you're spot on. We're seeing more and more local events, right? We've so far this year, we've in our event calendar, we've seen more events by this time in the year than any other year past, right? Huge increase in regional events, right? And then we're not even talking just the boutique dinners that these companies and vendors are doing, right? We're seeing these trends happen, but I think like we said, it comes down to a first time, first in class, first in market solution built for field marketing. Field marketing enablement is what we're calling this. Powered by data and driving that organization so people can actually realize a meaningful ROI. So before we wrap, anything else you want to add here?
No, I think you kind of hit it all on the nail on the head, but the opportunity here is ripe for field marketers to really scale what they're trying to accomplish and get the answers for these events that they've always really turned to other folks for.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it, right? So, so if you're in field marketing, check us out, delverisk.com. We actually have a tutorial walkthrough so you can see what this module actually looks like, and reach out to us. Be happy to chat and kind of go from there. So thank you very much, everybody, for your time. Thank you, Jason. We'll talk to everybody soon.